listening to the Easy Podcast on theeasyplaylist.com.
Hey, what's good? It's Easy Eddie back with theeasyplaylist.com. Today I got another book review for you. We're going to look at Charlemagne the God's Shook One book. And sorry, I got the light all in my eye right here. Shook One is Charlemagne the God's second book. If you don't know who Charlemagne the God is, very popular media personality. He's a very popular radio host that's syndicated across the world. He's a best-selling author with his very first book, Black Privilege. He's probably gonna have another epic sellout of this book right here, Shook One. Shook One is named after a Mobb Deep song, Shook Ones, and it's exactly what it sounds. It's about scaredy people. Like, that's the last thing you want to be, is a shook one. You know, you kind of want to always have the confidence, and Charlemagne does a really good job of just kind of articulating his feelings in here. Some people go through the same stuff that he's going through. Some people go through similar, less or more issues when it comes to mental health. But if you don't really know what's going on, you might just think that, you know, you're special. You got something unique going on with you. It was just a shortness of breath or something. But if you're not really giving the words to your feelings, Charlemagne says it best in here. He did not know what he was feeling until there was a word to place to it, and it was anxiety. So Charlemagne the God is an advocate in the hip-hop culture for mental health awareness. He's spoken on it multiple times. It's one of his popular questions when he gets an artist, especially an artist, because when you're creative and you're doing all that output, where's the input at? You know, someone has to be there for you to kind of get your thoughts and get how you're feeling, because you're controlling the way a bunch of people are feeling. So you always want to touch base with your artists and make sure that they're in a good place, so that the art they put out is also in a good place. And Charlemagne does a good job of kind of coming back to that. Don't matter who's in the chair next to him at the Breakfast Club, he's definitely asking that question on, like, have you went to therapy or anything like that? Because it doesn't matter who you are, you're going through something, and you should have someone to talk about. This book really prepares you for something like that. And he makes it cool because it's taboo to admit that you have issues with your health. It's a taboo to say you have a mental issue, like something that you can't physically see, but you're complaining about or you're feeling away. It's really hard to come across those emotions and conquer them when you don't have the words to put to it. And that was the main thing that I got from his book. Was he even has like kind of like a back-to-back with like a doctor speaking on his experiences and kind of articulating it into a like what a psychologist would say. So he gives you directions on how to go search for a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a counselor, just seeking some sort of mental health right there, so that you can know for certain that you're not having some deep issues that you need to unpack. And you might not even be aware of this, because your everyday is your everyday. You're going through these, whatever you're doing, you're forming patterns on, and you never know where your mental health could have taken a hit. You don't know if it's down, and kind of what he convinced me was that a weekly update on where you're at could really, really benefit you in the long run. Because if you start something and you repeatedly do it and you're not aware that this is emotionally fucking you up, it's just going to be a pattern for the rest of your life. You're just going to be going down that step. So Charlemagne, he's really faith-based. So he talks a lot about God, talks about kind of like the power of knowing what you're going through and being able to go seek help, where to go seek help, like really where the signs are. Because a lot of people are just uncomfortable with just thinking about, how do I gotta pay for this? Or this is an investment in yourself, as much as you're supposed to go get like a root canal or something. You're supposed to do this checkup. And I've been through a lot in my life. I've like lived with families that weren't technically my family. There's been nights where I went to sleep without eating. There's been times I go to college where I was just taking care of myself and no one was really checking on me. That shit kind of fucks you up a little bit when you think about it. And I'm not saying like, oh, everyone needs to be victimized and boo-hooed, but at the same time, you need to be aware of what this stuff does to you, because once you're able to be aware, you're able to kind of move forward and go past from it. And like, I don't know, you might not even know you have daddy issues, or you might not even know that you have financial stability problems or something, until you're able to get this out to someone who can who's been trained to kind of take your symptoms and diagnose you. Sometimes they can diagnose you with medication. Sometimes they can diagnose you with, sometimes they can prescribe you medication. Sometimes they can prescribe you a walk on the beach or something, or a good book to read, or staying off your phone, lifestyle changes and such. So there's a lot of things that can be prescribed depending on what your diagnosis is. But the important thing is to like be knowledgeable that this shit does exist, that having problems, having Jim Crow laws only fucking 80 years ago, that shit still hits now. Like, it doesn't make any sense that the world can be pushed into a in just an okay kind of utopia when there's people having their individual problems. And we gotta ask people, like, are you okay? How are you doing? You always see Charlemagne asks an artist, hey, how are you doing? Like, have you been to therapy? Because the creativity output from these artists, and then they don't get that input, that self-love, they end up putting that in their art out there, and that circulates, and I believe deeply that shit can like cause a traumatic shift. On the contrary, there's guys like Charlemagne, who's been around the mental health awareness. You got Meek Mill with the false imprisonment or prison reform. You got Cap started with his Take a Knee. You had Nipsey, rest in peace, who did a lot of good things to the community. And there's just kind of this time right now, I think, that where a lot of people could be talking. There's people like me who aren't interested in books, but you can pick up these books and learn something. That's a fact. You're not going to be learning something by just seeking information from a timeline, from like following a news account. That's not going to really give you information, insight, and empathy, which is the like important things you need going on in life to kind of like relate and kind of be whole. And I think that this book will get a lot of people hooked that are into hip-hop, not because he's talking about hip-hop the whole time or talking about the rappers he was trying to help come up with, the stations and label execs that he met, mostly because of his lingo, mostly because he does take a Jay-Z lyric and references to his life like most of us do. We listen to these artists and they are the soundtracks to our life. We feel for them, we feel with them, and Charlemagne is no different. He's a genius fan, I guess, and he's definitely found his way to kind of making things cool. Being faithful to your woman is cool, and asking someone how are you is cool. Saying I love you to your brother is like cool. So these things are really important, and I think it's very important for hip-hop in general, just as a culture, to kind of like be okay with loving each other. And like there's other entities and genres and stuff that are already doing that. Showing love is not hard, it don't cost shit, but we rather show criticism. The dramas and the world star fights and shit are like way more important. So for anyone who's kind of been through a lot, or if you felt like you are seeking more to learn about yourself, this book would definitely do it for you. Charlemagne the God, Shook One. You can buy it anywhere books are. You can especially buy it in the link. I got an Amazon link. And then his last one was Black Privilege. So go get both of them. Matter of fact, go to his pop-up when he comes to your city. Go get your shit signed by him. Make sure that you spread the knowledge after you get it, because I read these and I got that faith on fire for God type of feeling, and I just kept reading books. I looked at who Charlemagne's recommendations were. I looked at who Joel Osteen had recommendations for, because that was who Charlemagne wrote. I looked at, rest in peace, Nipsey. I looked at all the books he's read, and now I'm starting on my own path of figuring this shit out. This spiritual stuff must work. There's no reason, you read a Charlemagne book, you read a Martin Luther King book, you read a self-help book, and all 3 different walks of life, 3 different time periods, individuals, all that, and you're able to see that the common denominator in all of these books is faith. This spiritual shit really works. So subscribe, comment, all that shit. Make sure you watch the last one with Black Privilege, the last review, and then make sure you watch the next one where I compare both of them. It's gonna be a shorter one than this, but subscribe, comment, like, share, all that.